I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing.
Hurt.
No, I think she is.
Yeah, she's hurt. She took a hard fall off there. Boy, gosh, I hope she's okay.
No, she was not okay. Welcome in. It's Tuesday, December 17th. It is the Daily Puck Drop. We do this every single day at 10 a.m. We are in the Lemback Lumber Studios. Lemback Lumber Studios, the greatest lumber yard in all of the lumber yards and contractors. They got free deliveries, everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY packages. Largest stock moldings in the Northwest, old school service. They've been doing it since 1930. Give Lemback Lumber a call, 206-782-3487. Visit them online at lembacklumber.com. Follow us on all the social media channels on X, Instagram, Blue Sky. Is there anything else? I don't know. It is simply just Puck Sports. TikTok, where we put a lot of our video edits, Puck_sports. Facebook, Puck Sports. And I don't know if I miss anything. Also, become a Puck's Posse member. That QR code on your video screen, if you are streaming it, will take you right there to the Patreon Puck's Posse membership page. You want full access to all of the content, folks. All of it. The Daily Puck Drop, interviews, VIP content, special content that we have throughout the year. Sign up, become a full member. Full members get full access. Sign up and join the conversation today. It's as little as $5 a month. You get 10% off if you sign up for a year. Oh my God, a cup of coffee is $6 nowadays, kiddos. $6. If you are watching or listening to this later on the podcast, if you're on the YouTube channel, please subscribe there. We go live on YouTube, of course, on X as well. And then, of course, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. We go live every day at 10 a.m. It is a Tuesday, so that means Danny B. Kelly from The Ringer stops on by. That segment when we talk Seahawks, we talk NFL, we talk fantasy football, all brought to you by Georgetown Brewery. By the way, Georgetown Brewery, new tavern beer is out. Easy, smooth drinking, domestic lager, 4.2%. When we get to Danny, I'll go through all the bars. You can find it out. It's a lengthy list. But if you like a nice domestic lager that's actually made here, not made in California, okay, and owned by PBR, tavern beer is your choice. John Canzano will stop on by at 10:45. Of course, we'll get to John about the biggest news yesterday. John Mateer leaving. The college football playoffs begin this week. We'll talk to him about that. There is some new news on the Pac-12 and a media deal, in addition to adding another team, because there's a lawsuit that is pending there with the Mountain West that will impact maybe a future team there for the Pac-12 Conference joining it. And, of course, we end every day there with Hey, What the Puck coming up at the bottom of the hour. All right, what do we got? Not on the rundown there. Well, actually, it is on the rundown. Geno's health scare. We'll jump right into it. Boy, I thought Geno was hurt. I thought Geno was hurt real bad there on Sunday, but I think he avoided a major scare there, and according there to Mike McDonald. So thank God that Geno Smith was not hurt. Because I'm going to tell you right now, and this is not because I think Geno Smith is the all-time best quarterback in the world. I'm just telling you, did you like anything from Sam Howell? Did anybody like anything from Sam Howell? The answer would be no. And that's why Sam Howell will not be the answer for this team moving forward. Everyone who watched practice would have told you during training camp and practice that Sam Howell wasn't the guy. And then just remains the same question that we've talked about before when it comes to the Seahawks. They still don't have an answer at quarterback. Now, there is no long-term solution at quarterback. Geno Smith, they will be forced to bring him back. I mean, they technically don't have to be forced to bring him back, but they'll bring him back just in terms of if they want to do more of a cost-friendly deal, that they'll, in the offseason, will have to kind of bring that number down. And that number is a huge number. I mean, you're talking damn near $40 million on a cap hit. Do they bring it back on a shorter, smaller deal? 2 years, 3 years, maybe. Bring that number down. You're not committed to that final year. Yeah, because I think they have to, because they don't have any options. Said this yesterday with Curtis and Tim on the Ground Puck podcast. They are both in a unique situation, Geno and the Seahawks, because in essence there is no leverage for either. They're competing against themselves for the services of the quarterback. Geno Smith, if he gets to free agency, let's say he plays out this last year, goes to free agency, no one is going to give him the money that he wants. He's just not going to get it. He's not going to command $50 million. It would be absurd if the Seahawks handed him a contract that really was above $35 million. It'd be absurd. Absolutely absurd. Not worth it. Just isn't. He's perfectly fine at $30 to $32 million is what he should earn. And I think they should just play hardball with him and tell him that. Because if he were to go on the open market, he's not going to get that. No team is going to pay him that amount of money, because there is no team out there that you could really say, well, I think we're a quarterback away from really being a decent football team. So you use that leverage, against him. Now, on the flip side of it, he could use that leverage against Seattle and just be like, hey, man, like, you guys don't got any options, which they don't. The only potential option they'd have is if Minnesota decided not to do anything with Sam Darnold. And maybe they put the franchise tag eventually on Sam Darnold, but, who knows? Who knows what happens there? And who knows he'd be the answer. You watched him last night. He looked okay at times. He's had a fabulous season. The system, what O'Connell's been able to do with him, those two wide receivers are unbelievable. He plays indoors. All of that stuff factors in. Or, so that would be, I guess, a mark against him. Or it could be with Sam Darnold is he finally found it. He was a number 3 overall pick. He finally found all this talent. And now it has clicked for him as God, how old is Sam Darnold now? What is he, 20, 26, 27, 28? Maybe it finally clicked for him later in his career. And maybe that's the case. That happens a lot to a lot of players. So maybe the Seahawks could take a dive on that. We'll get a first-hand glimpse of him coming up this Sunday with the Vikings coming to town, which, by the way, was like a 4.5-point line. I think it's dropped down to 3, but the Vikings are going to be a terror coming into here. And the Seahawks are going to have the damn hands full against these guys. And those two wide receivers, you got to have a bounce-back game from Rick Woolen, who was just terrible last week. And we'll see if Seattle can answer the bell. Can they kick the game against Minnesota? Well, they can still kick it. And we talked about it yesterday with Curtis and Tim. They can still kick a game against Minnesota. However, I thought Tim brought up a great point, because if you still think 10 wins gets you the division, it still allows you to have one more game in which you can lose. Just depends on which game you can lose. And if you get down to all the tiebreakers, because you could really, with the Rams, if they each all finish 10-7, this is assuming Seattle beats the Rams, right? Seattle has to beat them in order for all this to play out. If you go down all of the tiebreakers, you get to the fourth. I can't remember what Tim said. I think it's the fourth or fifth one. You get to strength of victory. So strength of victory based on your opponents. You would actually make more sense if you're going to lose one more game. It makes more sense for Seattle to lose against the Bears than it does the Vikings. Who knew? So beat the Vikings this week, kick one against the Bears, or win all 3, and then, of course, beat the Rams at the end of the year. Rams are playing great football. We'll see if Seattle can sneak in. But the up-and-down nature of this fucking football team, man. I mean, it's just like every week you don't know what football team you're going to get. Last week they looked great against Arizona. The previous week against San Francisco, they look great. They come out against Green Bay, and it's all of the improvements, all the success that they had defensively. It all just seemed kind of washed away in those that first half where they just couldn't do anything. And really should have been much worse in that first half, by the way. I was thinking about this, and I know others probably have talked about it. Had Seattle made it more of a game in the second half, maybe Geno doesn't get hurt. It's at 10 points. What happens if it gets, a one-score game? Man, Matt LaFleur is going to get killed for how he handled the end of the half. I mean, killed. He was at like the Seahawks 45-yard line, or maybe it was even the 40, and had 2 timeouts remaining and just let the clock wind all the way down. Remember, they get inside that 5-yard line, and he's got to settle for the field goal with 4 seconds left because he didn't use, he ends up using 1 timeout. He just butchered the timeouts. Week in and week out, I'm really amazed how bad these guys are at using their timeouts. And they've got the best, crew there, analytics guys whose sole job is to do the timeouts. But you want to entertain yourself, go back and watch that half. Had they ended up losing the game or got closer, he butchered that whole thing. I kind of got lost on the little tangent there, other than he just was awful at the end of the half, and I wanted it really to come back and bite him in the ass. But we'll see what Seattle can do this week against the Vikings. Another massive test for them, and it sounds like Geno's okay. Sounds like they'll get Ken Walker back. Health of the offensive line, this sucks, as we talked about this, as it winded down, as you want these guys to all stay together and be healthy, and we'll find out the status of Oluwatimi and whether or not he can play there on Sunday there against the Vikings. Transfer portal fix. Obviously, yesterday was just a huge deal with John Mateer and he going in the portal. They have another guy that went into the portal, Fa'amoe, who is a starting right tackle for the Cougs. I want to get into him in a quick second because this is the worst stuff of the transfer portal is what transpired yesterday. And this was after Jake Dickert talked, by the way, to tell everyone that John Mateer was officially in the portal around 11:30. I'm going to tell you, no one wants to hear anybody cry tears about this stuff, all right? I'm just going to say, I don't think I have been this bummed about a player leaving, not just school, team, whatever team you root for. I don't know if I've been this bummed. I mean, this is right up there for me, personally, because of also what is factored in with Mateer's decision yesterday is how my kids view it. And my kids are before yesterday, were just the biggest John Mateer fans. They love John Mateer. 15-year-old daughter, probably for different reasons. And then an 11-year-old son who adore the guy. Went down on the field when the Apple Cup, when we went out on the field, got pictures with them. I mean, just like you're seeing a rock star, right? You're seeing the Beatles. So they're devastated by it. But I love watching the kid play, man. He is just what I said yesterday with Jim. He just embodies everything about college football, just about sports, right? Everything on the field, leaves it all on the field. And, you just heard so much. I had heard personally so much hype about him for 2 years behind the scenes from guys that watch practice and just would say, man, wait till you see this guy. He's going to be the real deal. He's phenomenal. Even at points last year where guys were telling me watching him practice that he's better than Ward and should be playing. But because Ward has an NIL deal, he's not. Okay. Now, that's just their opinion. I didn't watch it, so I don't know if that's 100% accurate. Went and watched him in the spring, watched him in the first fall scrimmage, and I'm like, yeah, you could just see it right away. And then the first game happens, and he's electric. I'm just going to miss watching the guy play. All right? And I wanted a victory for our school, who's been knocked down a lot and hasn't had a lot of victories of late. And then I wanted a win for the small guys in college football. That's what I wanted to win for. And so that one that stung yesterday. I think it's going to sting Cougar fans for a while. And I think what it's going to do, and I hope not, and we'll just see how this whole thing transpires, right, with the portal and the NIL and all that. I do think what's going to happen, and I want to give a shout out to Tim and Luke. These guys run the collective, and there's a lot of people behind the scenes that run the collective. They do an amazing job, have done an amazing job, will continue to do an amazing job. What I worry for them is the following, is I think it's going to bring in what happened yesterday with Mateer leaving because there was such a push to keep him and people donating and raising money, is I think there's going to be people that said, well, why am I doing this anymore? Because if he leaves, everyone's going to leave. Because we felt like he was the one that was going to stay, and I think that then you're just going to buyer beware now. Because I think a lot of fans now. I don't think. Hope I'm wrong. I don't think this galvanizes people to donate more. I think it actually is going to hurt them. We shall see. Again, I hope I'm wrong. The Fa'amoe story, who's the starting right tackle, this guy's the worst, and his agent's the worst, and it's everything wrong with college football. I went back and watched two interviews yesterday post-practice. One was with Jake Dickert. One was with Brock Dew, who was who flips between center, right guard. And here's what they said yesterday, because someone asked a question about, hey, Mateer's leaving. Is there anyone else that's leaving right now? You guys are 10 days away from playing in the Holiday Bowl. And Jake Dickert post-practice says, I would hope everyone is in. That's who came out and who practiced today. That's the expectation. Okay? Brock Dew, who's on the offensive line, asked the same question. Asked a different question because it was thought that all returning linemen who had eligibility to return would come back. And he was asked that question. How cool is it that you're going to return your entire offensive line? And he says, it's awesome. Fun playing with those guys. We are a tight-knit group. Well, that's at 11:15. I don't know if it's a couple hours later. Fa'amu puts his name in the transfer portal. He's in the portal. And then a story comes out yesterday from Coug fan Barry Bolton, who covers and does work for Coug fan, says that throughout the year, the agent representing Fa'amoe was adamant that the collective needs to pay him more money, and if they don't come up with more money, he'll sit. Now, that didn't happen. They didn't pay him more money, and he didn't sit. But Jesus, man, the system is so stupid, and it's so broken, and that right there highlights it. And that's a hell of a teammate right there. I'm going to tell you right there, that's a hell of a teammate that would be willing to let his agent tell the coaches and the collective he's willing to sit out unless you pay him more money. All right, let's transition from college football to the National Football League. He joins us every single Tuesday to talk all things NFL. Danny B. Kelly. You can follow him on X and Blue Sky, senior staff writer at The Ringer. Got the fantasy football show that we'll promote and we'll get to also coming up soon. Well, it's always going on. The Ringer NFL Draft Show is our weekly appearance where we talk all things football. Is brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, locally owned and operated by two diehard Huskies, Manny and Roger. Go visit georgetownbeer.com. And when you're there, go check out the new Georgetown Tavern Beer. It's an easy drinking, domestic-style lager, Danny. I know you love those.
Oh,
all right?
Yeah.
They're the best. They're going to be taking over the market. Look at that beautiful beer. The Georgetown Tavern Beer. Oh, it's crisp, easy going. You drink a million of those and you'll wake up feeling refreshed and energized and ready to tackle the day. Tavern Beer, your beer for massive consumption. Go to georgetownbeer.com and find the Tavern Beer. Just in growlers right now. All right, Danny. Nice. Well, they're back to sucking. Grubb sucks. The offensive line sucks again, and the team sucks again.
Yeah.
We had 2 weeks where they were great, but they're back to sucking.
Yeah. This is the nature of the NFL. This is what I've been trying to talk about all season long. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. The Seahawks are still in it. They control their destiny, I believe. Still, correct me if I'm wrong. They still can, if they win out, they can still go to the playoffs.
Yes. Yeah,
among other scenarios.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously, look, the Packers are really good. I think we talked about that last week. You know, this is a team that came into the week number 3 in DVOA. I know I mentioned DVOA last week too. This is a team that was better. They ranked higher than the Bills. They ranked higher than the Eagles in that metric. So this is a very efficient, good team. And they punched the Seahawks in the mouth. And, you know, the Seahawks could not really contend with it. I felt like that game, I pretty much knew what was going to happen within about 5 minutes. What did you feel about that? Like right away, I was like, oh, this is not going to go well.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's just here's where I got real concerned. And normally I don't really pay attention to the coin toss because I just know what the outcome of the coin toss is always going to be now. Right? Like you win it, you defer.
Right.
And so I'm
And when
watching.
they took the ball,
and they took the ball. I'm like, what the
oh
hell?
God,
What the hell does LaFleur know?
Oh, no.
What does he know that I
Yeah.
don't know? And you know what? We found out right away. He knew something. When they marched right down the field and they did it in a manner which I thought Seattle was better at and had gotten better at, and they did. Was stopping the run. I mean, they had no answer for that. They had no answer for that team moving forward.
Yeah, that was disappointing. That is a good point. It's like we took the ball, that was like a statement, and then they just marched down the field. It's like all Josh Jacobs on that first drive.
Yeah.
That's the danger of the Packers is they're so good, they're so balanced. Really, it's like they can run the ball. They can with Jordan Love, they can push the ball down the field. They have so many good weapons on offense, even down to like their tight end Tucker Kraft. I think is really good. They have like 4 or 5 receivers that could be, I think, stars on other teams if they weren't playing in a rotation for the Packers. And so, just a really, really balanced team and a really good coach. I think LaFleur does not get enough credit for how good he is as a coach. Like, like Shanahan gets all this love for being like a scheme guru. Like, I love watching the Packers offense. You see guys totally bought in, from to the 11th guy on offense, like blocking down the field on these end around plays and screen plays. So they're a really good offense. Credit to them. Obviously, the Seahawks. I wish the Seahawks would have played better, but this is a really good offense.
A real creative running game too.
Yeah.
Real creative how they do things. I just thought, boy, they of all the teams you've seen this year in the NFL, they probably do the most window dressing I've seen. Like formation shifts and it look like the ball's going one way. We'll pull linemen here, but we're actually going over there. We're setting up a screen here, but actually the screen's coming back the other way. It was off balance. I thought they got to the line of scrimmage. They snapped it quickly. They didn't let McDonald's defense kind of set and then adjust and call whatever the audibles they were to call. Matt LaFleur was a just absolute masterclass, especially in that first half calling plays.
Yeah, totally. It's I mentioned it's like they have so many guys that can do different things. Like Jaden Reed is essentially like a running back at times, the way that they utilize him. Getting explosive plays out on the edge. They make you defend every single square inch of the field. I think Love also, to his credit, does a really good job of working like the snap count, getting guys to kind of like show their hand too early. Varying like how quickly he's snapping the football. Those are like nuanced things that make a good quarterback that I probably learned from Aaron Rodgers, sitting behind Aaron Rodgers for like 4 years. So, again, kind of just credit to what they do. They're a really good team. Jordan Love's a really good quarterback. And I kept thinking like, oh, the Seahawks are, going to get him. They're going to trick him here. And he just kept like being able to kind of like figure out what the Seahawks wanted to do and like who they were dropping, who they were bringing on a pressure. There's multiple times where the Seahawks kind of showed their hand a little too early on accident. And, like the Packers just did a good job of kind of picking up everything the Seahawks wanted to throw at them. The other thing I wanted to mention too is I believe they've had like incredible continuity on their offensive line this year. And just imagine that. Imagine how nice that would be. So, this is a team that's getting healthy right now. They've been injured most of the year in terms of like they've had receivers out, they've had other guys out. But they're getting healthy at the right time. They look like one of the powers in the NFC for sure.
Yeah, they just it was the continuity in the offensive line, which again has been a subject that we've talked about all year long. And it was the last few weeks I thought was much better. It took a step back.
Yeah.
Sunday the Oluwatimi injury going out after I think it was the second series. That certainly doesn't help. Now you're throwing in a freshman, a rookie, in there now to play center. Not good. And it's but so that had a factor into it. But this was not unexpected because this was a much better defensive front. Yeah. I mean, much better than what they saw in the past few weeks. Not to say that they didn't take steps in the right direction. They did, but this was going to be a major challenge for these guys moving forward. I mean, I guess at times they ran the ball okay. Really, at the end of the day, they just didn't run it enough. I mean, I guess Charbonnet had that big run, and I guess I don't know how to really break down the run game because they never really got to it because they were down 14-0, and they were in hurry up mode and pass mode from that point.
And I mean, at the end of the day, like they were They were within 10 points with 11 minutes in the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? So like obviously the Sam Howell offense did not work. If Geno would have been there, who knows if they could have made this a little bit closer. I think they probably could have. They did fight back, and this is something I've been saying all year long. Is even when I'd say most games, even when they get behind, and or when they're clearly playing a better team, like a Detroit game comes to mind. I've been pretty impressed with like how they keep at it and keep fighting and keep like the defense clamped down in the second half. I felt like a lot better than they had in the first half.
Moral victory, Danny.
I'm just saying
moral victory.
Well, I'm trying to be the psychologist for the fan base out there. That's kind of like, I feel like the role I took on a little bit when I was at Field Goals is like, look, chill. This is just this is a week to week season. This is a week to week sport. Everyone freaks out after every little thing. But the Seahawks, again, they're 8-6. This is probably a better situation than most people thought they'd be in coming into the season. Not saying to count your blessings, but I'm saying, like, look, this is like meaningful games at the end of the year. Like, this is what it's all about. Let's do this. This is fun. And I think they can still go to the playoffs. So, obviously, it sucks to lose the Packers on national TV, but, this is still a good team. And hopefully Geno's okay. I think he's trending towards being okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to go back and to get a sense from everyone, like when the season started or in the off season when they had Mike McDonald and all the transition, like what were Seahawks expectations? Like what were the fans' expectations heading into the season?
Yeah,
my expectations were this. They were pretty lame. I wanted to finish over 500, at least 9-8.
Yeah.
That was in a first year 9-8. With a brand new coach, you're changing things over. And I know that they had players that were, all coming back. There was talent there. But for me, Danny, it was, my God, the offensive line was still a mess.
Yeah.
It was still a mess. And then frankly, I didn't think the defense was that good.
Right.
I didn't think the defense was that good last year at all. And so I'm thinking, I don't know, have they really addressed, the defensive front? I did not like the linebackers at all.
Right.
I just thought that was those two guys were terrible pickups. It ended up being right because they ended up getting rid of them. And then, I liked the Byron Murphy, but I didn't know I thought Byron Murphy was going to have a rookie, kind of hazing period. And, for the most part, he's been good. And then I wasn't high on Leonard Williams. But obviously he's had a fantastic season. So for me, it was 9-8. So right now where they're at 8-6 with a brand new staff who had never done this before. Yeah, I'm good with what, I don't want them to lose the final 3 games, but they're not going to. They're at least going to get to 9-8.
They hit the over already.
Yeah, that's right. The over
I believe
was 7.5.
the over 7.5 last year. Or sorry, in the summer, and I remember just being like so perplexed by that. I was like, this is a 9-win team. Yeah. I picked them to win 9 games this year. Felt like that was being like conservative and realistic with everything you just mentioned. New staff, new systems, new players. They're duct taping the linebacker position, and honestly, like the moves they've made this year, getting Ernest Jones, like going with Tyrese Knight and kind of just giving the rookie a chance. Like I think you're seeing good results from this. I think their pass rush has been pretty good relative to like what I was expecting. And obviously, like, look, everyone wants to have like a Super Bowl team, but I don't know. Did anybody feel that the Seahawks were a Super Bowl team before the season? That, like, if you're being realistic, no,
come on. I mean, there's just who really thought they were Super Bowl contenders? I mean, honestly, did people really think they were going to compete for the Super Bowl? Anybody really think they were going to compete to get to the NFC Championship game? I mean, I didn't. I don't know. I really don't know anybody that really thought that.
I mean, nationally, that was for sure not the impression. I think I saw a lot of people thought they'd be either third or fourth in the division. And so look, count your blessings. Like, this is the holiday spirit. The 49ers are in total fucking collapse. At least there's that, At least we got that going. We got that going for us, which is
God,
nice.
Do they have a terrible decision to make in the offseason? And it shouldn't be that hard to make. There just is no way they can pay the guy. There's no, and I want them to do it, because if they do it, they're going to ruin their franchise. They're going to ruin it.
Going to put them in a hard position. Yeah.
Oh, they will bury themselves. He's not that guy. He's a real good quarterback. He's a real good quarterback. But he's not $60 million, Danny.
Right.
You cannot do that.
I wonder, yeah, because there's a report that came out this week that he wants top of the market money, and I'm like,
of course he does.
Of course you say that, and of course you project that, but like, is he going to get that? I don't feel like he's going to get that. I don't think any team is going to give him that.
Well, then what happens at the end of the year? I mean, they could be in some as we just quickly just bounce to the Niners. I mean, they could be in some wholesale changes.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe John Lynch
change?
Could be. I mean, maybe they just say, you know what, it's not working out anymore.
Somebody, I think it was Aikman on the Monday Night Football broadcast last night was talking about the Bears sending a trade package to get Shanahan.
Yeah,
there was like,
Yeah, that's been brought up. I want to say it was Florio a couple weeks ago, maybe.
Oh, interesting.
A month ago, we talked about that. Hey, why would the Bears send some type of draft package to go get Shanahan so Shanahan goes and works there with Caleb Williams?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just think like. 49er fans, I think the vibe right now is like based on what I've heard, and obviously I don't talk to every 49er fan, but like I think there's 49er fans, and my co-host Craig is 49er. He grew up in the Bay, and so all his friends are 49ers fans. I'm like, there's an impression out there that I think people are done with Shanahan. Like they just kind of like want to move on, which I think is wild. But excuse me, but from like a vibes point of view, it's tough because like his late game collapses. His record in close games is not very good throughout his career. Obviously, there's multiple huge collapses. Like if there's just wanting to be like a clean slate break from all the bad vibes around all the bad endings, it's going to end up probably looking like the Andy Reid thing, where like Shanahan will go somewhere else and win a Super Bowl. But
here's the thing, Danny. He's a good coach. I mean, you think about what he's been able to do. Look at the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
That he's taken to the Super Bowl. Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
Am I missing? Is there anybody else? No, those are the two, right?
Well, he helped make Matt Ryan into the MVP of the NFL too.
Right. Yeah, I mean, think about that. I mean, imagine like as great as Andy Reid is, and Andy Reid's a great coach, right? He's a phenomenal.
Right.
He's got Patrick Mahomes is a freak.
That was just a match made in heaven. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, imagine if he had his version of Patrick Mahomes. Maybe that is Caleb Williams. I don't know.
I kind of feel like Caleb Williams wouldn't work in his system though. I feel like Shanahan would put him in the doghouse and then go with like the backup. Like I think I don't want to see Caleb Williams with Shanahan, even though it probably would produce fireworks. Just because Caleb Williams is not like he's not like a play in the system guy. He's like the opposite. He's like, I got to do my thing and kind of like freelance and make plays out of structure. And Shanahan wants a guy who's just going to like, hit his back foot and get the ball out and like run the system. So I don't know.
So are you surprised the reaction to Williams? I feel like we go right to he's a bust. He's already a bust.
Yeah.
He's already done.
No, I'm surprised he's not playing better. I would say that. I thought he would have a smoother transition to the pros. I think coming out of college, every young quarterback is like, it's a huge challenge. It's really, really hard. I think that Jaden Daniels has been infinitely better and more polished than I thought he would be. And credit to him and credit to Kingsbury and that whole offense for like putting it together. And like, he just looks like a freaking veteran out there. And he obviously has a really bright future in the NFL. But I still am like, I'm not, I think I'm discouraged because I wish it looked better, but I still believe very, very strongly in Caleb Williams as like a NFL player. I still think the tools, the mental makeup, the toughness, all that stuff is still there. I still believe in him. And it's like, honestly, it's like you look at that game last night, and not to just talk about Monday Night Football, but like they get down to the 1 yard line. They have a guy, an offensive lineman, come in, not declare. He makes a big block and they score a touchdown, and they back up. The next play, I think it's like a false start. They back up again. It's like everything that can go wrong with this roster and with this team has just been going wrong. A couple times later down in the red zone, they have 2 straight Keenan Allen drops, then Roma Dunze drops a touchdown. It's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, catch the ball. It's like right on his chest. And then, of course, they save the day. He throws the touchdown. Caleb Williams throws a touchdown on 4th down. I'm like, okay, fine. But like, to me, I'm just like, I know I'm kind of like a Caleb Williams apologist, but it's like this, like the team around him is not helping whatsoever. It's
Well, and
just
the
like
coach-
a disastrous situation.
Yeah, and then you go over the coaching staff because I think with all these guys, it's always about fit, right? It's fit. Where do you go? Where's the best fit for you? You know, he went to a situation where I'll be honest, they weren't convinced of that coach. That
No,
coach
not
was
at
a
all.
dud. He was a
Yeah.
dud. Eberflus was a dud. And you could just see it. They should have just cleaned house right away. And then it makes matters worse when they hired Shane Waldron.
God.
And
yeah.
then trust their number one pick with him. A guy that
you-
Jackson Smith and Jigba was laughing. And was silent for like 30 seconds
He's
when
a good
asked of his
person.
opinion of Shane Waldron.
He's a good person.
Yeah, he's cool. Yeah, great.
No, the irony is, I think I'm trying to remember who they hired. They interviewed. I want to say they interviewed Cliff. He went to Washington and obviously has put together a really, really good offense.
Yeah, been great.
They interviewed Liam Cohen, who looks like a head coaching candidate now.
Where's he at?
He's in Tampa Bay. He's helped. Baker Mayfield obviously is doing carrying a lot of the weight there, and
Yeah.
he helped Canales get hired as a head coach. But like Liam Cohen's offense is awesome in Tampa Bay. There was a couple other offensive coordinators they hired that I think ended up going and being successful this year. And then there's Shane Waldron. They ended up on Shane Waldron for who knows why. I don't know
They
why.
ended up on Shane Waldron.
And the
Hey,
Seahawks,
you get Shane Waldron.
and the
Come
Seahawks
on
were
now.
like, all right, see you later. We won't try and keep you.
Well, yeah, they're just like go. The one intriguing thing, and I mean, again, I don't know if they can get out of this. We'll just see how it shakes out here. It would be one Kingsbury in the NFL. I think obviously makes a lot of sense. Same offense that they want to utilize. He wants to be a head coach again. Guys like Kingsbury always get a second shot, and he's gonna get a second shot. There's no doubt about that one. And then of course I think what's gonna happen at USC with Lincoln Riley. I think Jen Cohen.
That would be interesting.
I've
yeah.
said this a million times, man. I think Jen Cohen would absolutely run and fly him to the airport to get out of it. I think they hate Lincoln Riley at USC. But the problem is he's $88 million.
Why do they hate him?
Because he's immature and he's not an adult.
Hmm.
He's a child.
That
And
would be
they want rid of him. I just think
Get him in there, run his offense, get a good like an older defensive coordinator guy to like kind of like be the defensive czar, and he doesn't have to think about it.
Yeah.
I could see that work.
And I just think these guys. I mean, I know Belichick went back to college, and we can get to that. I'm fascinated to see how that works.
Yeah,
I just think you see more of these guys now wanting to jump to the NFL because college football is a mess.
It's a nightmare,
an absolute mess. And it's just surprising to me that it's not surprising to me with Belichick because that's all he had. The only option for Belichick was to go to college. There was no option to go to the NFL because no one wants him.
That was our joke. It was like, the question is, why did he go to North Carolina? What's the deal with North Carolina? And then the answer is because they're the ones who asked.
Yeah.
Like they're the ones who wanted him. And I mean, my whole thing with Belichick is like, look, he might have been able to get a job. It's very probable that he would have been able to get a job in the NFL again if he was willing to surrender control over the roster, surrender control, and basically not be a GM. Just go out and coach. But I don't think he wanted that. I think he knew, and we were like, this is like in Pete Carroll's book, like, Pete Carroll felt that he failed in New England and in New York, mainly because there was not harmony between ownership, the GM, the coach, and like just overall vision of like where they wanted the team to go, where they wanted the program to go. And like, he kind of felt like he got undermined by the GM or the owner in both of those situations. So he was only going to come back to the NFL if he had full control over everything top down. And I think that's the same deal with Belichick. He's like, dude, I've won, how many Super Bowls did he win? 6 or 7? I've won 6 Super Bowls. He had a couple of Super Bowls, I think, with other teams too. I can't even remember off the top of my head. He's got a whole bunch of Super Bowls. And he's like, I'm not coming back to the NFL and like listening to some young GM or something about like who we're going to put on our team. He just refuses to like
teams
give up
just
that
don't
power.
want him, man. And I'm just telling you, they don't want that.
They don't want the whole thing, just the whole like.
They don't want it.
Yeah. And he also developed, this is something I was listening to Seth Wickersham and Bill Simmons talk about Belichick on their pod the other day. And it's just like, Belichick developed a reputation. And this is something I think the Crafts kind of put out there, but like he's just not easy to work with.
Yeah.
You know,
well, that whole documentary
Super
about
surprising.
the Patriots dynasty was all about what an asshole he is.
Yeah.
And I mean, Kraft. I mean, Kraft is the one who did the documentary, so they made him out
Wild.
to be that way.
Wild. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just think teams. I don't think teams want to deal with that. I understand the argument against it because the guys won championships before. Then the flip side of it is, did he win anything without Brady? No. Cleveland, he did have success, but it's hard. I mean, post Brady, they were nothing. I mean, here's the deal with him that I think I would be a buyer beware, despite all the championships, and I get all of it. When he got post Brady, he never had an answer. He never had an answer for that. And then they draft a quarterback in Mac Jones, and they put Matt fucking Patricia in charge of the development of Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Like, why? If I'm the Bears going, I'm not going to hire you. What, are you going to find some other guy that looks a fat hobo on the street like Patricia?
You got any other buddies?
Caleb Williams?
Yeah.
Where's Romeo Crennel?
Right.
Is he going to be the new offensive coordinator? I mean, just no.
Where's Charlie Weiss these days?
Oh, where is Weiss? Where is front butt Weiss at? I think he's still collecting money
Charlie
from
Weiss.
Where's he collecting money from?
He hasn't coached since 2014. Dang, it's been a while.
Well, because he's collecting money from Notre Dame. And here's the other thing quickly about Belichick. Where's his coaching tree? As good of a coach he was, where's that coaching tree?
Right.
It's non-existent, man.
Right.
Non-existent.
Yeah, well, because everybody tries to be like him, which is a curmudgeonly, hard to work with dude. And they can't recreate the success, so they just end up. So basically, Belichick is like this curmudgeonly, really hard to work with, brilliant guy who
like working with you,
wins a lot of games. The other guys are just curmudgeonly, like jerks who don't win games. Yeah. Like, what do you say you bring in here? It's like, I'm just like thinking of like Josh McDaniels. It's like you hear some of the players talking about this guy. He's just like the biggest dickhead. And like I wasn't there, but like based on what the players are saying after him, he was like roundly just loathed by all the players.
He just looks like he's Josh McDaniels has probably without a doubt the most punchable face around. Yeah. Country club, silver spoon, just a-hole.
Where is he these days too, actually?
I had no clue.
He was, I don't think he's working right now. He was the Raiders head coach last year.
Yeah.
And then got fired.
Got rid of him.
I kind of had forgotten that he was the coach of the Raiders.
And he wears a visor. God, anybody that wears a visor. Douche.
Red flag.
Massive red flag. All right. Fantasy football waiver. I mean, I'm trying to think. I'm in a consolation round because the token Chiefs suck again. Do we have? So my league is still going on. I think we got one more week or two more weeks.
It depends on your league, but there's 2 weeks left of the playoffs. So hopefully, if you got through the first round last week, congratulations.
Yeah, good for you people.
There's a couple of big opportunities here for starters with the Browns. Jerome Ford.
Okay.
Nick Chubb broke his foot, and he is out for the season. So Jerome Ford is going to inherit the starter's role there. He's already running pretty well. They're already kind of running him ahead of Chubb. So, especially this Browns team gets the Bengals and Dolphins the next 2 weeks. So like 2 really bad defenses, or at least the Bengals are really, really bad. And then the Dolphins are middling. The other guy to keep in mind here, I think, is like Kendre Miller for the Saints. Alvin Kamara has a groin injury. Who knows if he's going to play this next week? Kendre Miller could step in and get a lot of volume there. Same with Craig Reynolds, who could fill in for David Montgomery, who is out for the season with an MCL injury. So I think those are like the top 3 guys just to get in case you're looking for help at the running back position. From the receiver point of view, Jalen McMillan, former Husky. Yeah, he's really come on strong the last couple of weeks. I think he like kind of found his confidence. As a rookie, he early on he looked like he just was kind of like his head was spinning a little bit too much. Dropped a couple of passes, his confidence fell out, and then he has had a couple of big games, and you can see like the pep in his step again. So, anyways, he's a guy that's playing a ton of snaps for them. Last two games, 7 targets and 6 targets. He scored 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games, and they get Dallas and Carolina the next 2 games. So I like those matchups. Romeo Doubs for the Packers, as we saw on Sunday, back and healthy, and he's, I think, their best receiver. At tight end, Brenton Strange for the Jags would be the guy that I go after. 12 targets this last week in filling in for Evan Ingram. Obviously, Mac Jones has a connection with him. Maybe there's like the two backup guys kind of playing together on the scout team for a long time. They have some chemistry there. So Brenton Strange with Mac Jones at starter for the Jags. Doesn't sound great, but you don't have a ton of options on the waiver wire.
All right, last, you got anyone you want to put on the barge? We do it
Good,
every week, Danny.
good,
We're going to put somebody on the barge. Hold on. Hold on. There we go. I know it's a shipping container, so don't tell me. Hey, but it's a barge sound. Every week we put somebody on the barge. We're allowed to bring them.
Cousins we put them on the barge.
We put them on the barge. They go out to the Pacific Ocean. We leave them for dead, but we can bring them back. We brought Schneider back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You got any? You Cousins? You want to put Cousins on the barge?
Well, I put him on there last week. I think I'm trying to remember.
You want to bring him back or leave him out there?
No, let's leave him out there.
Okay.
I'll say
I'm putting Devondre Campbell on the barge. He goes on the barge.
There's a good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah, he's on the barge.
I'm gonna throw Shane Steichen on the barge for that ridiculous double pass play this past week. I thought that was funny. Okay. I'd still think Shane Steichen's probably a really good coach, but
barge worthy.
That offense. Just to go out there and think about what you've done a little bit. And then come back and maybe don't do double throws to Anthony Richardson anymore.
Smart play. Danny, you're the best. You can, of course, follow him on X and or / Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Danny B. Kelly, also on Blue Sky, senior staff writer at the Ringer. Ringer Fantasy Football Show, Ringer NFL Draft Show, all brought to you by our weekly conversation. We talk all things football, Georgetown Brewery. Go to Georgetown Brewery right now, georgetownbeer.com. Check out the new Tavern Beer, easy drinking domestic-style lager made with Pacific Northwest barley in a Yakima Valley hop. 4.2%. That's a nice, easy drinking beer. What do we got at the Ringer? What do we got all things NFL? What do you got cooking on this week?
Today, let's see, recording, it's going to go up tomorrow. We're going to do a ranking of the potential job openings, and then we're going to talk about like which coaches might fill those jobs. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. The NFL is going to look a little different come this time next year. So just looking forward to kind of figuring out who's going to land where, who's going to be the Bears head coach this time next year.
All right, thanks, Danny. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, man.
Actually, you know what? We're not going to talk to you next week.
Oh, yeah.
Next week is Christmas, or post-Christmas.
We'll
figure out next week's schedule, all right?
All right, sounds good.
There he is, Danny Kelly. The Danny Kelly Show, again, brought to you by Georgetown Beer. In case you missed that, came in late, the full Danny Kelly Show will be up on YouTube later. Subscribe there. Also up on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcast. And, of course, the great Danny Kelly Show. You can find everything up at pucksports.com. All right, let's transition. Folks, a little college football time with the great Johnny Canzano. John Canzano joins us. JohnCanzano.com. His weekly appearance brought to you by Zeke's Pizza. Best selection of pizzas, local Northwest craft beers. JohnCanzano.com. He's pushing out articles left and right. We got the radio show, The Bald-Faced Truth, down there in Portland, Oregon, 750 The Game. And he joins us every single Tuesday. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm glad you're giving people Christmas off. That's nice of you.
Well, I forgot. You know what? Yeah.
Awful kind of you.
Yeah. Well, next week. Hey, that's right. Next week's Christmas Eve. You better be here. Well, it sneaks up on you, doesn't it? Sneak up on everybody. I haven't even shopped for gifts yet.
And people are freaking out there. And maybe the sole purpose of this appearance here is to mellow out the audience, but. I happened to be out at a couple of these shopping malls over the weekend, and I saw you out there. You're losing your marbles. Oh. You're already stressing out. You're fighting over parking spots. Oh. I'm trying to back out of a parking spot, Puck, and there's a nice lady with her blinker on waiting to get in. And as I'm trying to back out, I can't back out because 2 or 3 other impatient cars are buzzing by.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't get that one. Stop. Let's just remember what Christmas is supposed to be about. And take a chill pill, people.
Yeah, drinking and eating heavily.
That's right.
That's what Christmas is all about. All right.
Damn it.
That's what it's all about. And shopping on Amazon.
Yeah. Underrated.
That's the best way. That's the best. That is honestly the only way to do it nowadays. It's just shopping online.
But you have to go out there at least once. Just don't have that forlorn look in your eye on Christmas Eve as you are wandering around the mall with no answer.
God,
Okay.
what do I get? And then you start shopping at those little kiosks in the middle of the mall where they got all the junk. You're like, oh, maybe she'll like that.
You're done.
She needs a cell phone protector. Well, let's get that. That's a great stocking stuffer. I put lottery tickets in all my all the stockings. That's the best. Yeah,
giving around potential for millions there.
Yeah. What I wanted was John Mateer to come back.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted for Christmas. Instead, not coming back.
You needed about $3 million, it looks like, to get Mateer back. I mean, look, nobody's mad at John Mateer. These Washington State donors, I talked to a couple of the big donors of the Cougar Collective, and they were really torn over the weekend because, they met twice. They presented to him last week at the football offices. They felt like they made an offer that was at least going to make him think. He goes home for his sister's graduation. And obviously, Ben Arbuckle is coordinators at Oklahoma. I had heard $1.5 million was what the Cougar Collective thought they were up against. So they were trying to get as close to $1 million as possible to give him something to think about. And $1.5 million, I think, was Auburn. But I think Auburn's even going to get outbid here. There's supposedly $2 or $3 million out there for Mateer, and the system's off its rails. Everybody is mad at the system. They're not mad at Mateer. They're looking at the portal. Dickert's saying, well, maybe we need to not pay attention to the rules like everybody else. And then meanwhile, you've got a senator, a U.S. senator in the state of Washington, Mike Baumgartner, is just elected in this last November election. He's already being put on committees where they're going to start talking about antitrust. They're going to start talking about whether or not Congress needs to step in to the college game like it has stepped in with the NFL, Major League Baseball, and others.
Well, it needs regulation. It needs rules. There are no rules.
Yeah.
There's no other sport in America that operates like this.
Yeah.
Nobody else does this, but they're allowed to operate with absolutely no rules, unlimited free agency, tampering, and no salary cap.
Yeah, you're on a freeway right now with no speed limit, okay? And so you're only limited by the vehicle you're driving in. And if you and I think this is a narrow window. I do think Congress is going to step in. I think they're going to say, hey, if you want an antitrust exemption, here are the things you need to do. And it needs to start with athletes unionizing. Now you can negotiate against the Players Association with the portal and with revenue sharing and putting caps on things that will help the other schools that can't write a $3 million check to get a QB. Yeah,
that's and it's and then all the news comes out, and I know the fan base. I know the fan base at Washington State is torn on it.
Right,
it's torn. Just the that wishes him the best, but also is tired of 2 straight years. You have a quarterback that now who was under recruited, jumps in the portal, now is going to go to a bigger school. I mean, listen, I'm going to be stunned and completely floored if he doesn't go to Oklahoma. I think the Oklahoma deal has been done for a month.
Probably.
That's my feeling.
Yeah, and Washington State's boosters may have just upped the money that John Mateer is going to get from Oklahoma. I mean, that may have been what happened over the weekend and last week. But, the Washington State donors, you hit on it. I mean, I was hearing from them, hey, they feel like they have a personal relationship with the kid. They want him to do well. They know there's life-changing money out there, but gosh, they wish he really would have stayed. It's just this terrible position that you're in as a donor. And look at the Heisman, finalists, Puck. I mean, Dylan Gabriel, multiple schools. Travis Hunter, he was at another school and transferred to Colorado. You've got everybody but Ashton Genty, Cam Ward, 3 schools. Everybody but Ashton Genty was someone else's player before they got to the Heisman finals. And you look at the top 10, Cam Scatteraboo was at Sacramento State. You go down the list, it's just Ashton Genty. He's the outlier, and he comes from a military family. And his mom says, our word is our bond, and they took less money to stay at Boise State. But man, Ashton Genty could have ended up at Oregon or Georgia, and he'd have made $2 million.
And it's just, I sat back and I was hoping that Mateer was watching when he was on stage and Holly Rowe was interviewing that family. And I'm looking at those two parents, and I wanted to go through the TV and hug those two parents.
Yeah.
And just be like, that's how you do it. That's how you raise a kid. That's how it should be done. Obviously, he did get money, but I don't know. I was really, really impressed with both of the parents, and just impressed with the message, and good for Ashton Genty. He is a rare bird, man, in this day and age of college football. And it just it's disappointing. I sat down with some of these Cougar great quarterbacks last week, interviewed them all: Jack Thompson, Alex Brink, Jason Gesser, Luke Falk, Connor Halliday. And one thing they all agreed at the very, what was one of the biggest themes was, this guy can be the best quarterback that's ever stepped foot on this campus.
Yeah.
And his lasting legacy would be, I could have left, but I did not. And obviously there's so much uncertainty with where that program is at, and that he would be revered more than any other quarterback. And I'm not saying that should be all on John Mateer's shoulders. And I know money is so important. And I agree with you. I'm not mad at John Mateer. I can't be. I mean, that would be selfish to be mad at him. It's his life. It's not my life. And and for fans to be mad at him, again, it's his decision. You got to be mad at the system and where it's at that allows this to take place. But I think where you can be mad, maybe not at Mateer and more mad at the system, a personal message, right, or a team chat photo gets leaked out. Someone on that team leaked it out. A screenshot of him sending a team message of making the decision. This is where there needs to be oversight, because in that team message, this is on Sunday night. He doesn't go into the portal till Monday. It says, I've got to take one of the offers that are being thrown at me. Yeah. That's tampering. Yeah. And I don't know, where is the NCAA in all this? Is there anyone in charge?
No.
Okay.
I walked by the NCAA offices when I was in Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship game. The lights are off, man. And, it doesn't look like there's a lot. I made a joke. I put it on Instagram and I said, hey, this is the hub of college athletics. I roll. Look, no, they're so afraid. They're afraid of litigation, right? They're facing existential crisis type litigation, and there's more to come. The ADs and the presidents know that this will not be the end. This House versus the NCAA thing is not going to be the last lawsuit. And so everybody's afraid to make a move that inhibits any of the earning capacity of the players. And it's why I do think you're going to see Congress step in. They're going to say there's an antitrust issue here. There's a competitive imbalance. Obviously, this is a free market, but you're not supposed to be able to infringe upon another conference's or another school's right to an opportunity to go earn and be a business. And so that's what's happening. There's widespread tampering between the schools and between the conferences, and there's no czar of college football. The NCAA has no teeth. And so you have no ability to regulate any of this. And, Mateer told me a couple of weeks ago, he said he didn't have an agent, and he said there's a lot of noise, and he says he's just trying to focus on the football. And I can't help, Puck, but think that Washington State's best chance to keep him wasn't just the collective. It was maybe getting to the playoff and showing him that you could get to the playoff. And the way the team finished, I think, may have ultimately sunk Washington State.
The problem with him not having an agent, and I think it was like a family friend that was helping him, that lies the problem. I mean, there are rumors swirling that this has been going on for a month, more than a month, about the flirtation with Oklahoma. Obviously, Ben Arbuckle just didn't, once the season went over, hey, OU, I'm coming. Yep. And same with the running backs coach who went to Utah, a few days after signing day. And again, we criticize these kids, but then they learn it from these adults, right? Sure. It's the old 1980s drug commercial. I learned it by watching you. Where'd you learn how to do this? I learned it by watching you, Dad. Yeah. Dad getting high off the grass in the garage. But and I can't help but think that if he's the one that's handling this, Mateer and his buddy, how are you not distracted? I think it warrants a discussion that was part of the late season collapse. It's not like he didn't play great. There was games that certainly he was not the problem. It was the defense problem. Wyoming game, though, he was terrible. It was awful in the Wyoming game. How does this stuff not wear on you?
Yeah, it does. And, here he's a guy who, he had majored in finance or econ because he wanted to be prepared to manage money. And he told me he really wasn't learning what he needed in those classes to deal with what he was dealing with people coming at him. And so, yeah, there's a big problem. I think it'll get back on the rails, but I think there's going to it's the Wild West right now, obviously, for the next couple of seasons until somebody steps in and does something.
Well, yeah, I can't wait for it. And then there's this other story. There's an offensive tackle at Washington State, right tackle Fa'amoe, who yesterday Jake Dickert comes out, and Brock Dew who was an offensive lineman for the Cougars. They both speak yesterday after practice.
Yeah.
So about 11:15, 11:20. Jake Dickert's asked, hey, Mateer's gone. Do you expect anybody else, to be gone? He goes, no, everyone that's here is here. And said they've practiced, and we expect them to be here. Brock Dew's talking about, someone asked him a question about, hey, how was exciting? Because the collective has been posting pictures of people and basically insinuating that these guys are all coming back, right? And Brock Dew's asked, how cool is it? There's a bunch of pictures out there that your entire offensive line or the majority of you guys are all coming back who are eligible to come back. It's great. It's awesome. Great group of guys. We hang out all the time. Special group. It's awesome. Well, like 2 hours later, this guy's in the portal.
Yeah.
He practiced with the team. He's in the portal. And then a story comes out from Coug fan, which is just a team. For people who don't know, I'm sure people do. It's just a team website. Well, not a team website, but a fan website covering for the team. Every school's got it. And Barry Bolton, who was the reporter, had a note in there which I've confirmed from others, that I didn't hear about this story. I didn't know about this, that the rumors all around in Pullman were that the agent for the tackle was considering having him sit out games because he wasn't being paid enough, and that he was a pain in the ass. And then now this guy's in the portal, and I would just say, that's a hell of a teammate, man. Hell of a teammate to sit there and tell your coaching staff and your teammates, hey, I'm in, I'm all in, and then 2 hours later you're out.
Yeah. Well, get this. I mean, the clock, there's a number of problems. One of them being that it's the Wild West. The other is the calendar that the NCAA has set up for this portal window opening on the 9th of December. You've got 7 players at Tennessee who have jumped into the portal. They're in the playoffs. Everybody's saying, well, they're not starters. Penn State had a player jump in the portal. Well, they're not starters. No, but you look at the stat box and you look, these guys are playing. There's a depth issue here that is going to be created for the playoff. And as you start to look at these games, I think we're going to see more and more of this. It's backups, it's second and third stringers. I'm sure Oregon's got them as well. They've got a number of their position groups that just are so deep that there are guys who are never going to see the field, and they're probably looking, out for themselves and their future. And it's a bad situation. And the agents, I've talked to a couple of these agents. Some of them are scumbags. They don't have any real experience with like the NFL or, professional football. And they're like MMA agents who are now dabbling in college football. These jokers are out there telling the players, I can get you X, Y, Z. And I don't know that they're telling a lie or the truth, but it's problematic.
How bad would you be? Like you mentioned Tennessee. I know, big storyline yesterday's now everyone is like the outrage because is it the backup quarterback for Penn State?
Yeah.
He's in the portal. If I were a teammate of that kid at Penn State, I think what did we used to do back in the day? Did we stone people? Did we do that? Or tar and feather?
I wasn't around for those days, but
tar and feather.
Yeah.
Did we do that? That's what Full Metal Jacket is what I would do to that kid.
You'd go Full Metal Jacket on him?
I would. I'd be like, get the F out of here.
Yeah, and he's a guy, like people say, oh, he's the
backup. What happened to the starter? He gets knocked out in their playoff game.
This guy played in the Big Ten championship game, and he had a run against Oregon that was a nice play for Penn State. It hurts Penn State.
Absolute worst. That is the absolute worst. I would sniff that guy if I were a head coach because that kid is a quitter. Yeah. That kid's a quitter.
You look, I don't know what you do with your kid, but like if our kids want to play pickleball or volleyball or soccer, once they start it, they finish it. And they have come to us a couple of times and we've gone, nope, you will see the end of this season. So, I lose respect for the players because, they could see this thing through. The NCAA would argue and the coaches will argue that, hey, we got to get them enrolled in their new school. Classes start January 6th on our campus. There's, make an exception for athletes. Say, hey, as long as they're there by January 1, you can get them in there. But the fact that these players are jumping now it's stupid.
Well, that takes us there. How do we fix it? There's two windows open right now, right? We're in it as we speak, and it ends December 28th. And then we get another window that's in the spring. We've got unlimited now transfers. You can transfer as many times as you want. There's no, right? They changed that, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You're watching guys. There are players at Washington State are going on their third school. So yeah.
Yeah. Commitment.
Yeah.
And you got the graduate transfer still. I mean, you whatever. You can just transfer as much as you want. You mentioned something there that's intriguing to me. What would you do to fix it? I was just texting earlier this morning with Brandon Huffman. I'm sure you've had Brandon on your show.
Yeah, I like Brandon.
24/7 Sports. Brandon's the best. And I just said, what would you do? How would you fix it? He goes, well, it's hard because of what you brought up. It's so difficult because these guys need to start school. And he brought up something that was really, really, I thought, interesting, because I think it's something that people don't think about when it comes to this, because all we think about are the players entering the portal.
Yeah.
He goes, the one thing that coaches have to guard against when it comes to eliminating one of these portals, especially the winter one, is because they don't want some of the kids on the team. They're trying to get them to go into the portal because they don't want them anymore.
It's true.
How do you solve it? What do you have any ideas how you would do it?
Yeah, let's start with dropping the term student athlete, okay? It's a farce. It means nothing. We all roll our eyes at it. The only reason the ADs say it is because they've been instructed by the NCAA to use student athlete, because if they get into potential litigation, they can always fall back on the fact, well, they were just students who were playing football. Let's lose the term student athlete. Let's recognize that athletes are different than regular students on the campus. They already get priority registration. They already get access to the tutoring center, the athletic tutoring center. They get benefits that other students don't get on campus. They're not like other students. We all know this. So why are we holding them to a registration process that is for other students? Let's create a lane for the athletes on campuses where, hey, you can join your classes day before we can get you registered. We're going to leave room in X number of classes. We'll get you into school. We'll get you registered. You're not like the others. So why are we saying you have to be, they need to be free in early December because they need to get ready for that January 6th, first day of school? No, move that back. Let's also then talk about, you got that additional lane now open. Let's move the season a couple weeks earlier. Now we've created an opportunity for the bowl season and the college football playoff to be played without a bunch of people jumping into the portal. And then the NCAA has got to come in and say, no tampering, and we're not going to penalize the athletes. We're going to penalize the schools. If your donors or boosters are in contact and we can prove it, we're going to penalize the schools. Start by doing that. And I think you'll solve some of this, but ultimately Congress needs to come in. The athletes need to be able to negotiate as a union, and the schools need to be able to say, hey, we're going to eliminate one of the windows. Here's where we're putting the window. You're free to transfer. But I just don't like the ambiguity and the illusion that these are students. They're not. Like, as long as they're there, enroll them late, put them in different classes, create some classes that are just for athletes that are being, onboarded, that you can get them in on January 7th and no problem. And then they can start school that next week. But the fact that the playoff is going to go on with a bunch of players going, hey, I can't play for my team because I need to get in the portal and I need to get to my new school is ridiculous.
It's called general studies. That's what you can do.
Yeah, just create it. Create some extra classes.
So would you do away with this first one, the December one, and just have a spring one?
No, I don't like the spring one, because I think the spring one creates a lot of problems for coaches who don't know what their roster is going to be. And if you're a have in college football, the spring one's great. Like Oregon can go out and Ohio State can go out and they can shop for a need. Hey, we got a guy who got hurt early in the spring. We're going to need a backup right guard. What do they turn? They turn to the G5 schools and they go, who's out there that we can throw a little money at in the spring? Or if you're Miami and you need Damian Martinez, you go shopping for him at Oregon State late in the spring portal window. And so I think it's a huge disadvantage. Trent Bray, the coach at Oregon State, told me, he said he didn't even know who was going to be on his roster. He thought his running back room was deep. By the end of the spring portal window, he was like, crap, and too late. Yeah. You can't go out and recruit somebody else. So I'm getting rid of the spring window. I'm going to move that December window back so that it opens after the bowl season, after the college football playoff. And then we'll get into, January 7th. Maybe that window closes.
But allow so push it after the bowl playoffs, but then allow them to go to a school and make up the classes and enroll late.
Enroll late. I mean, any college, every college out there gives priority registration for upperclassmen, right? So if you're a junior or senior, you need an upper division course. You have access to those classes before the rest of the student body because they want you to be able to graduate. Athletes get the same damn thing because they have to work around practice time or whatever. The athletes are the first to register. So hold some spots in some general coursework classes, or even be able, talk to the players and say, look, we're going to create classes. Your first semester, you're not really going to get stuff that gets you moving towards a college degree, but we're going to put you in some classes that we create and have that first term just be about onboarding them and not about the illusion that these guys are studying because they're taking yoga and sign language, Puck. That's what they're taking. So create yoga and sign language as a major.
Hey, not a bad choice.
They're not even going to class. I've talked to so many of these players and I say, what's your favorite class? And they go, well, I'm taking everything online and I'm taking yoga and sign language online. Where do I sign up?
Hey, to be fair, I took 3 different golf classes.
It's fine. Online?
Well, no, you can't. No,
swinging in your living room.
Yeah, I actually went there, and then I took a billiards class.
Look
there as well.
Hey, look, I played community college football, college baseball, low level. Okay, I had a class called sports officiating at my community college. I never went to it. It's called sports officiating. I got an A. It's on my transcript.
Hey.
The teacher was the offensive coordinator on the football team.
Well,
he says Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We don't meet Monday and Wednesday, and Friday's optional. So, that's how it went. I can't imagine what they're doing now. Yeah. I mean, come on, let's be real.
And then they've got all these people. I mean, I think people have seen it. There was the documentary, was it Netflix that did the community college one, the powerhouse community college football team.
Yeah.
And they you saw the behind the scenes. Oh. They have an army. I mean, especially the bigger schools, but all the schools have an army of students and advisors that literally do the homework for them.
Yeah.
All of them.
Let's drop the illusion that the school part of this is what's holding up the portal. Yeah. That there needs to be a reconciliation there that hey, you know what? Yoga, sign language, sports officiating, those courses we're going to create new entries. The head coach and the assistants will be the teachers. We'll onboard the students so that they are technically enrolled.
Yeah, just do real life, football stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean? A course on how to deal with the media. Yeah. A course on how to throw your teammates under the bus through the media.
There you go.
Wouldn't
that be beneficial? What if you had a sports agent teaching a class?
I think it'd be great.
And what if you had you did a media class on media training and how to deal with social media.
How not to waste your money.
Yeah. Yep.
All that kind of stuff. How to keep, your side piece away from your girlfriend.
And I was going to say Travis, we'll get on that Travis Hunter bandwagon later.
What do you want to Travis? Well, hey, what's the whole thing with his girlfriend? Why are people why is she getting all this online hate? I haven't followed it.
I think people see some unhealthy behavior, maybe mildly, in that relationship. But here's the reality of it. Let's go back and think about the relationships that we were all in at age 20. and let's put the spotlight on him and put it all over social media and have, he's at the Heisman thing and people are, I feel bad in some respect for them because they're not going to get to have like a normal relationship. And it's why you see weirdness, like with these celebrity, dating and marriage.
Is she a celebrity?
She had, by extension, she's all over his social media. She's always there next to him. Now, I'd have some advice for him. He needs to talk to some people, but it's why Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce work, is because they both understand the pressure and the complication and the scrutiny that comes with being in the public eye.
People are coming after for what reason? I'm honestly, I'm just
because
asking.
After the Illinois game, he went and he was pointing up at the stands, and she was apparently mad at him for she thought he was pointing at the cheerleaders, and so it was kind of this insecure, immature 20-year-old relationship moment that was on display. That's one of them. And she didn't stand at the Heisman thing. I mean, people are nitpicking it like crazy, but I'm looking at it. I'm just going, oh my gosh. The scrutiny that would be under. Grab any 20, 21-year-old and let's put their relationship out there and see what people
she didn't
think.
Stand when he won?
When he won, she didn't immediately stand. Coach Prime reached over and kind of helped her up. And then she's trying to help her cause. And she keeps popping up in my algorithm. Okay. Forgive me, but she's trying to help her cause. But her latest thing is that she has come out and said, when they were first dating, she would go to parties and Travis would take her to the party with her friends. And then he'd park outside and wait in the car while she was inside the party for a couple hours, having the time of her life. And then she's trying to say he's such a good guy and he really loves me and whatnot. But there's this air of possessiveness about the whole thing that is, making us all squirm a little bit.
I'm usually on top of this stuff. And I feel like, why do you know more about this than I do? Because in the chat, everyone's telling me everything. She won't sign a prenup. Apparently she's pregnant with this kid. Now you know what I'm going to do after we're over here and I'm done doing the show today?
You're going to go down that rabbit hole.
All I'm going to look at today is this Travis Hunter story.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to look at. Okay. Here's what I didn't like from the Heisman. And I'm going to nitpick on something. I didn't need Dion up on stage and I didn't need Shedeur Sanders on stage. You know who I needed? His mom.
Yeah.
Because his mom, who does the interview afterwards with Holly Rowe, was exceptional. She was unbelievable.
Except the part where she said he was a mistake.
Oh, well, yeah, there was
that part. That was a little bit of
that was cringy.
Someone needed to talk to her and be like, that's not how you. I just felt I've interviewed Travis one time one-on-one. Okay.
And
it was 2 years ago, Pac-12 Media Day in Vegas. Fantastic person. Great conversation, down to earth, nice kid, interesting. More, there's a little immaturity to him, but it was charming. It wasn't bad immaturity. And so he's easy to root for. But in seeing his mom and then seeing this relationship that is blossoming around him, I worry about him. I think he's going off to the NFL and he's going to have real money. And I think he's going to be under the spotlight. It's going to. I hope he handles it well. I hope he's got some strong people in his circle.
Yeah, let's hope so. All right, the Washington, Oregon, apparently, and I hope he's watching because he's my good friend Jordan Reffett, already complaining and setting up all the excuses for next season why Washington won't win because the big bad Big Ten. They were mean. They're meanies against us, and they have set us up to fail for our schedule next season. They got any? Are their gripes warranted? What the Big Ten did to both Washington and Oregon?
Anybody who is belly aching about Washington and Oregon and the geography of their schedule failed geography in elementary school. There are 18 schools. 18 schools in the Big Ten. Look at the map. Get out a map. Put out a map and look at where the schools are located. 4 are on the left side of your map. The other 14 are over way to the right. Okay. It's not middle of the country. It's right of center. That's where the Big Ten Conference is located. That's where Indianapolis is. That's where, you're going to see Ohio State and Penn State and Rutgers, and they're all over to the right. That means if you're going to play them, you've got to travel to them to play. This is not a surprise. Like, this is about as ridiculous to me. The Oregon fans are doing it too. They're complaining about the schedule. First came out, they said 12-0. Within about 2 hours, they were going, look at how this is stacked against us with the geography. It's the same complaint that I heard when the Friday night schedule came out, Puck, this last season. Mm-hmm. What did Oregon and Washington think? They were going to get to play at noon on Saturday every day on Fox?
Yes, they did. No, John, they did. That's what they thought. They because, again, I say this respectfully, that's the arrogance of both these two schools and these fan bases. It's an arrogance to them that they think that they were going to walk right in and be like, "We're here now. What? Give us your women and your food."
Yeah, you had that standing in the Pac-12. You had it, but you're going into the Big Ten. That's Michigan and Ohio State. That's why Michigan's not playing on a Friday night, and Ohio State's not playing on a Friday night, because they're going to take care of those schools. They always will. You will never be one of them. Oregon was in Indianapolis. Oregon has crashed the party. Like, if you think about the 4 schools that came into the Big Ten, 3 of them came in like lambs, okay? Oregon came in like a lion, right? Oregon came in, won the damn thing. They're in Indianapolis. I'm talking to Penn State fans and maybe some Ohio State fans and some of the reporters who cover the Big Ten all the time, and they're already kind of expressing a little bit of disgust for Oregon coming in, Oregon, the NIL budget. Just wait. I mean, I don't think it's going to take very long for the rest of the Big Ten to kind of turn on Oregon in particular. But if you're Washington, unless you can win football games, all you're going to be is you're going to be a time slot like USC and UCLA right now. You're a time slot in the Pacific time zone that the Big Ten is sold to Fox. That is your standing in the conference. And Oregon is the same way. Even though Oregon won the thing, I think they expected they were going to be treated like Michigan when the schedule came out. Nope, you got to go to Iowa. Nope, you got to go. You're going to have to travel to go play some football games. You're not even Kirby Smart at Georgia. Everybody complains, but you're not Alabama yet. You're Oregon. You're Washington.
Just what did they expect was going to happen? That's what I don't understand. Like
geography.
And the other thing too, it's if you really peel back the schedule, it's not this because the complaint is all the buys, right?
Right.
It really is one game. It's the Maryland game.
Yeah,
it's the Maryland game after playing Ohio State. Then Maryland has a bye.
Yeah,
if you have the 2 games at home, Illinois and who's the other one? Somebody terrible. I mean, if you can't beat 2 terrible teams of the Big Ten at home, and they're coming off buys, that's the issue. It's not the issue. It's not them coming off buys.
It's the bye combined with their traveling, and so the Washington and Oregon fans are mad that they are traveling after playing a game to play a team who is sitting home after a bye. Guess what? You're not Michigan. You're not Ohio State. You have the geography. It was the same way in the Pac-12, right? You had teams that were sitting. You had to play sometimes on a Friday night. Your life has not changed. The geography changed.
Yeah, it's Rutgers and Illinois that come to. They have to travel across country. That negates the whole bye thing, but before you play them. I mean, God, stop with the excuse making. I mean, it's
just go. You got to win the games, and you have to do it over a sustained period of time. And if you don't win, they're never going to respect you, and they're never going to treat you right. And I don't think Oregon's even going to get treated right, because I think
why should they?
The rest of that conference is going. We don't like it. We don't like this. How do the Iowa fans feel? How do the Minnesota fans feel? Just wait. Like they've got Oregon in front of them. Nobody's talking about Washington yet. Nobody's talking about USC or UCLA, but Oregon, I think, is going to draw some ire here.
They're not the brands. They're not the brands in that conference. I mean, the brands have already been established. Hey, what story comes out? Colorado State and Utah State. They're suing the Mountain West, right? They don't want to pay that exit fee. What's the latest with that? What does that mean? And then ultimately, when we start talking more expansion, because the Pac-12 needs another team, what does that mean for like a school like UNLV?
Well, I think officials at UNLV will say, hey, they're committed to the Mountain West Conference, but I don't think anything's done. And we have learned in expansion, nothing's done until it's done. And so I'm looking at UNLV still as a possibility for the Pac-12. I think if the media numbers come back in the right way, and the Pac-12, their own lawsuit to get rid of the poaching penalties that were part of their contract ends up helping them. I think that you could see UNLV listening to the Pac-12. I also think Memphis and Tulane are out there if the potential media partners say, hey, we want those windows. We need to get, again, like Oregon and Washington and the 4 schools in the West. The media company is going to go, yeah, we like your Western footprint, but we'd love to have a couple of teams that could play at a different time of day, that now we've got a full slate of games for every weekend. And so I think all of this sort of points to the Pac-12 ultimately, this expansion move that they're going to make. I've kind of put a target, Puck. I want you to visualize this. The Pac-12 has been unable to come up with a date, like a drop dead date for the, when are they going to add teams? They won't do it, but I'm going to do it. On March Madness on that Thursday, when the first ball goes up in the morning on that March Madness.
So much fun.
Thursday. Yeah, it's great. When that ball's in the air, I kind of expect that the Pac-12 will have taken their bite. And I think that is the target, like the start of March Madness being kind of the target to say, we're going to add a school. And I do think the expansion piece will kind of come out in front of the media rights deal, because you're going to have to know, if you're a media partner, who's in this conference. So I think that move will get made, and then you'll hear media deal. But this lawsuit is great, because if you are the Pac-12, you're saying, look, you've already got a lawsuit with the Mountain West where you're saying the poaching penalties don't apply. We were under duress. We signed that contract. These penalties are violate antitrust laws. I mean, I think they've got some firm ground to stand on as it pertains to the poaching penalties, which would be about $55 or $60 million that the Mountain West is expecting to then turn and distribute to UNLV and others to get them to stay. So if you're the Pac-12, you're attacking that. I don't think they're talking settlement at this point, but if I'm the Mountain West, you might want to talk settlement on that, because you may not have money to give away. Now, Utah State and Colorado State have come out and said, hey, the exit fees, we don't think the exit fees should apply. And by the way, they're using some of the same language that the 10 departing schools in the Pac-12 use.
It's verbatim.
It's like, oh, we never really gave notice.
Do they have a judge that's going to oversee this that is an alum of one of these schools?
Judge Leiby, Gary Leiby, has moved now. He is sitting in the church. No, he's.
Wouldn't that be awesome? I think I've come out of retirement.
But look, bottom line being that the Mountain West Conference is trying to glue together UNLV and the other members with the money that they expect to get from the Pac-12. So keep an eye on these lawsuits. If the Pac-12 and Utah State, Colorado State are successful, there's less for the Mountain West Conference to turn and promise to UNLV to stick around. And so I think it's an attack on the Mountain West. And these two entities are at each other's throats right now. They used to be friends. And eventually the dust will settle. But, Mountain West is, the proactive moves they're making, like offering Northern Illinois and UC Davis and other sports. I can't help but look at that and go, hey, is that a defensive move that in the event that they lose UNLV, they have enough members to operate?
All right. Do we cover it all? Do you need to clean out your notebook?
Well, one last thing. I just posted today on Boise State and Moneyball. Take a look at it at johncanzano.com, because Boise State, their athletic department budget, as you know, it's like $50 million. The other 11 schools in the CFP, some of those schools spend as much on football as Boise State spends on all sports. It's the ultimate Moneyball game that Jeremiah Dickey, the AD at Boise State, is playing, but the numbers are astounding. And if you're a Washington State or Oregon State fan, keep in mind those schools their budgets in their athletic department are like $85 to $90 million, $92 million, in that range. When you compare it to Ohio State, Tennessee, Oregon, even Arizona State, you can kind of see what you need to spend to win and make the playoff.
Unbelievable. Yeah, go check it out right now. Can I go through the top 10 real quick?
Do it.
So you have Boise State's at $50.6 million. ASU, I mean, they more than double them, $121 million. I'm surprised Oregon, $153.5 million.
Yeah, some of that is because their facilities, the way that they structured the debt on the facilities, because Phil Knight paid a lot of it. They don't have that recurring debt on their major facilities.
Tennessee 154 million, Clemson 158, Indiana 166 million, Penn State 181, Georgia $200 million, Texas almost 240, and Ohio State number 1 at $251 million.
And it's who's not on the list too. Who didn't make the playoff is interesting, because like Alabama, I think would be the number 3 school. They didn't make it, and they spent as much. They spent more than Georgia. And so it's interesting. I think Ohio State and Texas are 1-2 in spending in the fiscal year, but Ohio State spent $72 million on football. $72 million on football. Boise State spends $50 million on 19 sports. That shows you what the Broncos are up against. It is Moneyball. You have to have an Ashton Genty to get in that position. And look, I'm not saying Boise State's going to beat Penn State or SMU, whoever they play, but a lot of eyes on that game, because if you can overcome that kind of disparity, look out.
John Canzano, he makes it looks like a turtleneck, or that's a quarter zip, look great. It's the holidays. Yeah, it's good. No, leave it. I love it.
Oh, you like it?
Yeah, it's a wonderful look. Enjoy. Have a wonderful holidays next week. I don't know what we're going to do next week. I'm not going to. Hey, do you want to come on Christmas Eve? We'll figure out something for next week where we record something, or I don't know what we'll do.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for not having to do this on Christmas Eve.
You don't have to do it at all. We'll reconvene in a few
I love
weeks.
it. I love doing it. Come on.
Thanks, John.
All right, man.
There he is, John Canzano, every week with us, talking all things college football. Big thanks to Zeke's Pizza for sponsoring that weekly segment. John Canzano, again, follow him on X. Follow him on Blue Sky as well. John Canzano, BFT on X, on Blue Sky, John Canzano. Read all of his work at johncanzano.com. Full episode up on YouTube later when you're there. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also up on the audio platforms, Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. And, of course, the John Canzano Show, always up at pucksports.com. We finished the show, as we always do, with Hey, What the Puck. It's brought to you by our good friends at Restoration One. Guys, they're going to take care of you over there at Restoration One. You got damages that affect your house, your commercial property, your residential property. Let the fine folks there at Restoration One do it for you. It's a company that lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, mold, damage, all of it. You don't want to deal with it. Let Restoration One deal with it. Let Derek deal with it. Let Trent deal with it. These guys run the place. Well, Trent runs the place and Derek works there, but whatever. They're 2 peas in a pod. Let them take care of it. Tell them Puck sent you. Make them your first call when these damages do affect your residential or commercial property. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, the North Seattle franchise. All right, Hey, What the Puck. I saw a lot of this yesterday on social media, and I understand where it's coming from. But I want, me personally, as a fan, as an alum of the school, I want to put an end to it. And this is what I want to put an end to. The once a Coug, always a Coug moniker that a lot of people were throwing on social media yesterday with a picture of John Mateer, and John Mateer holding up the Apple Cup trophy. And it always, once a Coug, always a Coug. No, that's not the case. You see, once you decide to leave, you're not a Coug forever. Or insert your team. If John Mateer goes on to play in the NFL, say he does, goes on Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, and they do the introductions, right? Hey, I'm John Mateer. He's not going to say, hey, John Mateer, Washington State. He's going to say John Mateer, Oklahoma. John Mateer, Auburn. John Mateer, Oregon, or wherever he goes. He made his choice, and it's his choice. I don't begrudge his decision at all because it's his life. That's not my place. Not my place to tell him what to do with his life. He made a choice, and that's his decision. And everyone's got to live with that and support him for that. But he's not a Coug for life. That's over. That's reserved for those who actually follow through with that motto of whatever your fan base is. And if you're a fan like me that feels that way, that's okay. That doesn't make you a bad person, by the way. That moniker of Team for life, Coug for life, Coug forever is reserved for the special ones who actually follow through with that. Hey, What the Puck, again, brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage. Contact those guys. Contact Trent. They're going to take care of you. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com. That's it for a Tuesday edition of the Daily Puck Drop. Again, I'm going to mention this. Oh, I didn't get to this earlier. We do have, you sign up for the Pucks Posse membership. Mentioned this before. I've unlocked our Cougar conversation that we had with the Cougar quarterbacks, our QB Confidential. So if you want to watch or listen to it, go to pucksports.com. That link at the top will take you to the membership page, the Pucks Posse members page. If you are watching right now on the stream, you can click on the QR code that will take you there as well. You can go to patreon.com, search Puck Sports. Those have been unlocked. The video of QB Confidential, the audio has been unlocked as well. And I will eventually, probably today or tomorrow, I'm going to unlock the diamond table. Just for those who haven't signed up yet, you get an access to what we're doing in addition to all the content we're doing here daily. The more content that we're giving VIPs, the more content we're giving members. Because there's many of you that signed up. They should get access. They should get access to everything. But I'm going to open it up, and so people can go and watch and listen to the full baseball show, the Diamond Table. We'll have another edition that the Cougar Roundtable was part of, the Puck Speakeasy. We have another episode of Puck Speakeasy coming out in a couple of weeks. I'm going to sit down with, if you're a high school football fan, if you're a football fan, and you're just a fan of someone who's given their life to kids, given their life to high school sports, given their life to this community, given their life to this state. Our next guest, Monty Kohler, the head football coach at O'Day High School, is going to be our next guest on a Puck Speakeasy. And that will, again, be for Puck's Posse members. He is a great guy. 40-plus years at O'Day, legendary coach, but a legendary person and a legendary father figure for many kids that have gone through O'Day High School. So we'll sit down, a long chat with Monty Kohler coming up in a couple weeks. Also, our first episode of Dynamic Duos, where we talk to two sports figures synonymous with one another. It's something we started back in the day. We started back in COVID on the radio. We're bringing it back here. Two sports figures together synonymous with one another. Past guests included Kemp and Payton, Largent and Zorn, Calabro, Marcus Johnson, Bob Rondo, Chuck Nelson, Matt Hasselbeck, Robbie Tobeck. First episode is in the books. That comes out January 6th. And the first guest that we have, Graz and Gas. Dave Grosby, Michael Gastineau. It is in the books. There's some editing to be done. It will come out January 6th. It is an all-timer. If you are old school radio, KJR days, and you want to hear stories and laughter behind the scenes, the current state of radio, the past radio, memories, how they became what they became, how voicemails came to be a thing, which is, I never knew the story of how voicemails actually became voicemails. And I was stunned of whose idea it was. I guarantee you've never heard this story, whose idea voicemails was. That will come out, Graz and Gas, our first guest on Dynamic Duos, 4-part series we'll do throughout the year, coming out on January 6th. So if you want to be a Pucks Posse member, VIP content for all of it, the free content plus the additional content, sign up today. QR code will take you there. Go to pucksports.com, top of the page. We'll also take you to the Patreon site where you sign up to be a member, just $5 a month. And then a 10% discount if you sign up there for a year. All right, Tuesday show in the books, everything up later on YouTube. When you're there, as I always say, always subscribe. Tell your friends, family members, all of it. And then also up on Apple and Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. And, of course, everything always up at pucksports.com. That is it for Tuesday show. We'll see you tomorrow, Wednesday extravaganza. Rob Staten of SeahawksDraftBlog.com. Also, the Human Pony Kick, Ryan Divish, our off-season cold stove talk with Divish coming up tomorrow. We'll see ya. As always, we promise to be better.
No shoes, no ties.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!